Hello guys, welcome to today's tutorial. My name is Bonaventure Chukudi. I'm the founder of Bonaround Tech Hub, a tech company that teaches people how to code and build software. So today we'll be looking at Git and GitHub. So first of all, Git is like a version control. It was designed by the creator of Linux operating system. You see, so it was designed by Torvalds, yes, Linux. Now, Git is a version control. It helps you track your code, it helps you track the changes in your code, and helps you work with other people without having issues. So, to get started with Git, you need to download it. So, go to Git to this website, git-sem.com. Now, you can just download for Windows or any operating system you're using. So, when you click on download, follow through the installation processes. Once it is done installing, you can come over to your machine and search for cmd like I've done. Here you can now type node-v, right? Git-v, isn't it? Okay, git double dash then version. So typing this will give you the git version of your computer. Okay, so once you're done, you can just close this. Now, I don't have any. Next thing is to set up your GitHub account. Once you've created your GitHub account, everything is set. So this is my GitHub account. I can come over here and click on new to create a new project or a new repository. So I'm going to call the new repository first Git. So you understand, or whatever project you want to call it. So let's call it book app. So a book app. So we can just keep it as default and create repository. But if you want to add some readme or some git ignore, you can do that. Now, a git ignore is like a file that tells Git, hey, don't track this file. Do not save this file. Do not push this file. Do not allow me push this file to GitHub, okay? So you can just create your repository here. I've not done anything. I just put the name as book app. You can also set it as private if you don't want other people to have access, but setting it to public, every other person can have access. So let's just create the repository. Oh my, okay, let's try it again. Let's create the repository and think there is a problem with my Git, but let's try it again. So let's create a new project. Let's call it book app, and we can just create repository. So we have created it now, and this is our repository. Now we are not going to follow this first instruction. We will make use of this second instruction. Now look at what we are going to do. I don't have any project here, so I'm going to create a new project. Open folder, and I'm going to on my desktop. I'll call it book app. Book app. No, I'm not going to create it here. So I will go to my documents, then my tutorials. I don't know where you want to save yours, but here is where I'll save it. So I'll call it book app and select the folder. It is fresh, right? Now I can track changes here. Now to initialize the tracking, I can just come over here and start with the first thing to do whenever you want to initialize your Git and track your project such that, let's say you're writing a code and you don't you added a feature and some other and it's something stopped working. We can with Git you can go back to history and find out how you've made changes and track how you've made changes. So let's begin by creating our Git, initializing our Git by running Git Init. And Git Init stands for Git Initialize. Once you've done that, it will tell you that it has initialized the project. Now, this your book app will be tracked by Git. For instance, when you take, for instance, when you have a file index.html, and you save. And then the first thing you write is h1. Okay, you initialize your app. This is where you create it, and then you put a title. You can call it hook app. Now you want to save this so that you can revert to this in the future. You can do git add. You add. The next is that you can do git commits. Then you put -m. You put the message. You can say added title, and then hit your enter. Now you've done this. Once you come over here and add any other changes, you can always track it. Now see, you can come over here and add other things, like you add your h1. You can say hello world and save. Then you can do git add if you want to do it like this, or you can add more changes. Then I'm just trying to show that. Then you can git commit added h1. So this is essentially the work of Git. Once you come over here, you can now look at your Git history, like how you've made changes to the app. You see how you've made changes to the app. So this is it, added title. This is the first code. You can take a look at the code to know what you've added. You see, you can view it and stuff like that. You can view it. You see, this particular one, it has no h1. Now if you come over to added h1 and you view it like this, and you view it here, added h1, you notice h1 has been added. Now this helps you track the changes in your file, changes in your code, so that you can work with other people and not have any issues. Okay, now once you've done this, you can now set this as a remote repository. Like, you can now push it to GitHub so that every other person in the world that has this link can, view your code and make changes to it, though with your permission though. Now to do that, we can just do git remote add. This command git remote add origin https, then the repo. You just copy this and paste here. It will add, and then the next thing is to push it. And to push it, you can do git push dash u, then origin. We are dealing with master here. Take a look at it, master, right? Because it is the branch. There's something called a branch master. You can push it. Now once you push it, it's going to take some time, like 1 minute or so. Then it pushes it to GitHub. Now let's refresh. Your code is now live. Every other person in the world can see it. Now let's say, and if you take a look at it, only has one branch. You can add more branches to it. Let's say you want to have a branch that talks about the CSS you've added. You can do git checkout, then you can add the branch you want. The branch name, let's call it CSS files. So you have switched to CSS files, right? Now the next thing to do is to add the changes. Let's say we want to add changes to here, and we can just do style.css. So we can just add some CSS file. Let's say body, say margin 0 and padding 0, like this, and save. Now this is in the branch. It is not in the master. This file that you've added is just in the CSS files branch. Now if you do git, you can do git add, and then you can now git commit added first style, and then you can do git push to push it to the remote repository. You git now. Let's okay. Before I push this, okay. Let me just push this. Git push then dash u. It will not be master again. This will not be CSS files because it is the branch. Then okay, git push origin then css dash files, and this you push it to the remote. Now, to show you what I mean by branch, let me show you what I mean by a branch. Now, if we go back to if we type git branch, you notice that we now have two branches, master and files. If you do git checkout master, you notice that style.css is not there. Yes, it is not there. Style.css is not there in master, but style.css is in the CSS files. This is how you control. So you can have an app and you have like 10 developers working on it, and maybe you are working on the about page, some other person is working on the contact us page, some other person is working on the on some other page. You know, you can use git branch to name those particular features. You can call it git you can say git checkout dash b, then the branch name, let's say about page features, and you can add the features of the about page, and you can even merge a branch to another one. For instance, you can do git merge css files to the masters. This copies every file and history from the css files branch to the um, master branch. Once you do that, it's going to work very well, and this is it. Now the files and the history you had in the css files has now been moved to the book app. Now we can go over to GitHub to take a look at it, and there's something called pull request. You know, pull request is like trying to say, hey, I added new features, but I'm trying to add it to the master also. You can create it here. You know, you can do this here, but if you don't want to, you can skip it. Okay, so we are going to look at pull request in the future, but for now, this is it. Thank you guys, and if you enjoyed this tutorial, click on the subscribe button, click on the like button. Have a nice day.